Freedom's the answer. What's the question? You're listening to Ernest Hancock.
Stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. If you want to have a good time, just give me a call.
Welcome back to Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, and my special guest, Jacob Hornberger from Future Freedom Foundation. And the reason I wanted to have Jacob on is because he has done such a great job in predicting, explaining, articulating what we had to worry about. Well, I guess they used his articles as a roadmap because here we are. And I want to make sure that as we were talking about when we were going into the break, there is a conditioning that the American people have gone through the government schools, the youth indoctrination mandatory camps of whatever, and their camp leaders, teachers, aka now indoctrinators. They have this Pledge of Allegiance thing has been. I remember as a young child, it was every day I pledge allegiance to, as you get older, you start to understand that, and you learn where it really came from. It was this socialist thing that he did through the school system to try and get us from being this rural. You're before the Civil War, you were a Georgian or a Massachusettsian or a Pennsylvanian or whatever. Then after you're an American. You got collectivized. You got homogenized. And as we go into the 20th century, you start having an effort to get us. It's the country right or wrong thing, and then you throw God in there, and you do. And being a man of faith, do you think that do you equate the state and God in any way? I mean, has that been a method that they've used to get us worshiping the man as the man? I mean, where does that play in?
Well, there's no question. I mean, a lot of Christians wouldn't admit this, but they look at the federal government as a god. I mean, it's almost, especially like, in a war, it's like blasphemy if you criticize the troops or what the government's doing or why it's involved in this war.
So we must always be at war.
Oh, but hey, we've been at war or preparation for war ever since World War II. And it's not a coincidence that was the rise of the empire, the military-industrial complex, the CIA, and so forth. But yeah, I mean, this is it's not just the United States. In every country, that's the purpose of government schooling, is to prepare the mindset of the good little citizen that defers to authority, that accepts the official version of things, that doesn't challenge things at a fundamental level. Now, what distinguishes libertarians from the statists and from everyone else is that for some reason or another, and I don't know how to explain it, we have broken through. I mean, I'm a product of public schooling and stuff. I used to believe, we live in a free country. This is a free enterprise system, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the military. It's all freedom and free enterprise. We've broken through, and we have a grip on reality now. We know that these programs, the welfare programs, the warfare programs, are antithetical to freedom. And that's what separates us out from the other people. And this is why, people are moving into the libertarian movement. They're breaking through. And this is what scares the statists, because once you achieve that breakthrough, there ain't no going back.
How do you unlearn the truth?
Exactly. And how do you unlearn reality? So, I think that's one of the major problems here is that people honestly believe that all this junk, free Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the occupations of these countries, this is all freedom and free enterprise. Well, that's what separates us out from those people.
Well, where are we heading, though? I mean, we're going to have reality. When I talk to members of the government, I mean, elected officials, officers, it always goes down to, look, I'll tell you how it went. Right before the TSA thing, we had 6 agencies of the Phoenix Police Department, the liaisons to Homeland Security, down to the airport, the administration, the community service, confrontation prevention squads. They're all worried about what we were going to do. And we had some fun. We did, there was, Chris, the black man with a gun, was there at the security checkpoint in the airport terminal passing out stuff. We'll get ready for stuff like that, So fortunately, they realize it's just, we're here to protect your rights. Everything went fine. But as we have conversations with them, it goes like this. You're going to need us on your side as this thing devolves. As we get into people going hungry, we already have 40, almost 50 million people on food stamps right now. And I'm going, this is not going to get better. before it gets much, much worse. You're going to need us on your side. We're going to need to perceive that law enforcement is there to be peace officers, really, and to defend our individual rights. To defend, this is my main point, to defend our right and our ability to complain. Because that's what I want to know. And I made it very clear to the officers. I go, look, and they were all here down at the Freedom's Phoenix workshop, and it's a long story. But the thing was, is we said, look, when we are no longer allowed to complain, that's the time that I need to know. Are you going to help us complain, or at least allow us, protect our rights to, or you're going to crush dissent? When we aren't allowed to complain anymore, that's the information. You go, what would you do then? I don't know. But that's definitely one thing I need to know is when we're not allowed to complain anymore. Well, now we have, just came out in Washington, D.C., you can't wear a mask anymore, they can arrest you. So I'm going, okay. So I'm looking into the legislative session comes in. We're going to have Congress and a new Senate coming in, and they say, what's Ron Paul saying? Quit extending the debt ceiling. Stop. So when they keep doing this, we have more countries like what China and Russia did. Look, we're not buying more treasuries. We're not, giving you more. We're not wasting. We know, it's going to be hyperinflation. I mean, do you see the economics of it as being the trigger, or is it going to be something that they're just going to try and quiet us from complaining about the economics? I mean, what kind of I know it's speculation. I know it's prediction. I know you're really, throwing it out there. But I mean, what do you see happening over the next few months? How will it manifest on Main Street?
I think it's impossible to say. I mean, these are exciting times because you do have people now challenging the official version of things like, that inflation is good, it stimulates, or government spending is good. I mean, there's now people, the Tea Party movement, that's asking questions or reading the founding documents. They still haven't reached where they need to reach, and that's libertarianism. But at least they're not accepting the official version. But I think that the point that you intimate that, that government inevitably starts looking at the critics as the enemy. That's the potential danger. And every government does this. The Iranian government, the North Korean government, they can't tolerate dissent. Because why? Because the dissenters oftentimes are telling the truth. They're exposing that the emperor has no clothes. They're exposing what they're doing with the inflation, the debasement, and so forth. Now, with an economic crisis, we could actually have a perfect storm of where you have a severe economic crisis, a dollar plunging, the Chinese dumping the dollar in mass, the debt instruments they hold, a foreign policy crisis, the occupations, Iran, or whatever. If all this comes together, there's just no telling how government's going to react. I mean, you know as well as I do, they use crises as a way to get their power, to exercise power. So you may have this perfect storm of where government's clamping down while at the same time the citizenry is breaking through and realizing what's going on and demanding a restoration of their rights. That could be some interesting times ahead.
Well, the one thing that I really can be safe in encouraging people to do is just prepare themselves to be able to survive whatever's coming. I mean, we can have fun with things like how much toilet paper can you buy, and if you got your attic full of tampons, and all menstruating women must come to you to get their supply. So you can have fun talking about and pontificating on the importance of doing that, or just filling underneath your bed with food. And, of course, you protect your wealth with silver and gold. I mean, these are not bad things. I mean, these, and it's easy to do, and it's not, a big philosophical jump for anyone. But it is if you're invested in the system. If you have all your pension, all of your 401ks, your 50, whatever the heck it is, your IRAs, everything, all this social and economic engineering that went in to put all your money into big giant piles that they say, you know what? There's a big giant pile of money over there. We want to make that pile of money our pile of money. Well, how are we going to make that our pile of money? Well, there's all kinds of ways of doing it, and they're doing it. Well, here comes some taxes, too. So when we come back, we're going to talk about, with Bumper Hornberger from the Future of Freedom Foundation, what might they do with the tax cuts? What might they do with spending? What might they do extending the debt?